We are live. We are live. We are live. I am Dr. Frita, and welcome to Medical Monday, where we talk about all of the hot health topics in the headlines. And do we have a lot of headlines to talk about today? First, let's talk about the snow days, okay? I'm here in Georgia. You know, we had a snow weekend, a snow day, and I'm sure lots of you had fun sledding and doing all kinds of exciting things. But what you may not know is that the snow can actually be quite hazardous to your health. In fact, being in the cold weather and working in the snow, shoveling the snow can increase your risk for heart attacks. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about this infamous bird flu. And we'll break it down in my favorite game, myth versus fact. So we'll clear up some of the myths on bird flu. And then we'll talk about egg prices. Who loves eggs? I do. Well, we have extreme egg prices. You see what I did there? So we'll talk about that and some of the consequences of the bird flu and what's happening with the poultry industry, the eggs, the milk. And then we'll talk about Jamie Foxx. We've touched base with him before as far as what's going on with him and what had happened was and the stroke and the brain bleed he suffered. But now we're going to delve a little bit deeper because really less than 5% of the population would have survived what he went through. So it really is quite a blessing that he's here. And knowing that risk factor and the heaviness of the stroke and the brain bleed that he had and how it could have potentially taken him out of here, I want us to just take our time and to go over some of the warning signs of a stroke. That's really important. Here's another headline, tWitch. Y'all remember tWitch, the dancer from Ellen DeGeneres show. He seems to have been just a wonderful person, a wonderful father. Well, his wife has been in the headlines because she has a book coming out and she's sharing some pretty intimate details with the world that apparently he didn't even share with her. And she's alluding to a potential drug addiction that he had that she didn't know about, apparently, even though a lot of his friends and family are really opposing it. We'll just take it and we'll deal with the health part that could help us to live our healthiest, happiest lives. So we'll talk a little bit about addiction, mental health. And I want to know what you think. Is she out of line for sharing what he didn't even share with her? Or is she the wife and we need to mind our business? We'll talk about that. And then let's talk about mask mandates. Why? I don't know. Those were so controversial, even though we know that masks can save lives. Well, now we have this quademic, as they're calling it, where we have the flu, we have COVID, we have RSV, there's norovirus, there's all kinds of things. And I want to know what you think about mask mandates, and we will review how masks can help to stop the spread of infection. And if we have time, we'll get into something that's very serious, very heavy. And of course, that's the wildfires. And of course, our hearts go out to everyone in California the people who are living through the wildfires. We'll talk about the health risks of wildfires. And lastly, we'll talk about how to walk your way to a lower blood pressure. That's a lot of headlines. Okay, we're about to have a jam-packed show. So make sure you go ahead and like this video as you come in, share it because I'm sharing evidence-based medicine on this Medical Monday. I'm Dr. Frita. Let's get started. Hello, hello. We are live. I'm Dr. Frita. It's Medical Monday. I'm breaking down all of the medical news that has made the headlines. And so please make sure you join us. Go ahead and like as you come into this video. And make sure you go ahead. We're going to be interactive here. So if you have any questions, put them there. I'll be asking you questions. So please answer. And this can be a great learning experience where we have a lot of fun in dealing with some of the heavy headlines. Shador, come on up to the front of the stage. How are you doing, Shador?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Dr. Frita?
Doing well. So you survived the snow days.
Yes.
So everybody was busy. The kids were loving the snow at your house.
Yeah, well, I'm allowed one day out. It was cold out. How are you all?
Yeah, we did well. I had to battle with my teenagers a little bit, specifically my son, because he wanted to go out in slides and socks in the middle of the snow. And so, for everybody in the chat, welcome. If you check out my Instagram at dr.frita, I actually have a little clip of the video where I'm telling him to get back in the house. So if you go over there, I have different content than I have here on YouTube. I do a lot of short form content and sometimes more personal videos with my life. And then my kids decided that they wanted to go sledding. That sounds like a good idea, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have a sled, Shador. So they took my laundry baskets and slid down my driveway. Y'all, please don't call the people on me. Don't call Department of Family and Children Services. They're okay, no broken bones. And we just had us a nice little bootleg snow day over here. And so we had a good time. But Shador, a lot of times people actually do not have a good time in the snow because according to the American Heart Association, hundreds of people are admitted to the hospital and even pass away the day after shoveling the snow. Okay, so there's some serious aspects to the snow. So if you could roll this clip right quickly, and then we'll get into the first person in the chat and we'll get started with my game, myth versus fact. Did you know that you could be at increased risk for having a heart attack in the snow? I'm not trying to be a fun snatcher, but I'm Dr. Frita, and here are 5 ways to prevent having a heart attack in the snow. 1, cold weather causes your blood vessels to tighten or constrict. This can lead to high blood pressure, a fast heart rate, and it can make your heart arteries tighten, which increases your risk for a heart attack. 2, please don't overexert yourself in the snow. Don't go from being a couch potato to all of a sudden shoveling hundreds of pounds of snow. That can strain your heart. Make sure you push or sweep the snow instead of lifting it. And if you must lift it, use a small shovel or lift smaller amounts. Also, take frequent breaks. Don't try to be a hero in the snow. 3, dress properly. Wear layers of warm clothing, wear hats, scarves, wear weather-appropriate shoes with good traction, wear water-resistant mittens, okay? Dress warmly. 4, make sure that you don't eat a large meal before going out and working in the snow. That can strain your heart. Also, avoid smoking cigarettes and avoid alcohol when exerting yourself in the snow. 5, make sure you take a charged cell phone with you. And so if you run into trouble and you start having symptoms of a heart attack, you can call 911. For more information about heart disease, make sure you click the link in my bio and check my website, dr.frita.com, for my full videos on heart attack symptoms, on how to unclog your arteries naturally, and on the top causes of chest pain. All right. Yep. I definitely took advantage of the snow. Every time I see a weather change or anything, I'm always going to think about the health aspect. So you can check that video out on my Instagram channel. Shador, who was the first person in the chat today?
Yes, ma'am. First person today was Miss Cynthia.
Hi, Miss Cynthia.
He says, hello, Theopolis and Cynthia. We are looking forward to the information today.
Wonderful. And I know I say this every time, but Theophilus, I love the name Theophilus because my mother loved the name Theophilus, and that's what she really wanted to name my brother. But she named him Junior instead. You know how that goes. But wonderful. All right, that sounds good. And go ahead and put in the chat where you're watching us from, okay? And we'll give you some shout outs and we'll see who's watching from the farthest place. And now for my favorite game, myth versus fact. You know that this bird flu is here. We've had at least 66 human cases here in the United States. We've had some deaths from the bird flu, unfortunately. And we've had children who've gotten the bird flu. There have even been cats who've been drinking raw milk have gotten the bird flu. And so there have been some fears on, what's safe, what's not safe to eat, and what we need to do as far as the bird flu. And of course, the biggest fear is, can this turn into a pandemic? But let's play my little game, myth versus fact. For this first statement, put an M1 if you think it's a myth, put an F1 if you think it's a fact. Shador, can you read our first myth versus fact, please?
Absolutely. Eating thoroughly cooked chicken and eggs can transmit bird flu to humans.
All right. Put an M1 if you think that's a myth. If you cook it, you don't think you can get bird flu from chicken and eggs. Put an F1. So M1 if you think it's a myth. F1 if you think it's a fact that if you do eating the thoroughly cooked chicken and eggs, that you cannot get it from eating thoroughly cooked chicken and eggs. M1 if the statement you see is a myth, F1 if it's a fact.
All right.
Okay. All right. Going once, going twice. So if you think that eating the cooked chicken and eggs can give you the bird flu, then you're going to put an F1. If you think that eating the cooked chicken and eggs cannot, you put an M1. All right. What's our next one, Shador?
Cooking poultry to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit or 74 degrees Celsius eliminates the bird flu virus.
All right. Put an M2 if you think this statement is a myth. Put an F2 if you think it's a fact. If you cook it to this specific temperature, at least, if you're good and you're not going to get bird flu, then that's a fact. Put an F2. If you think, nah, that's not quite right, put an M2, that it's a myth. All right, pencils down. All right, I'll talk to you about the answers to these questions right after this next clip.
One moment, please.
That the drumbeat of bird flu coming closer to humans is becoming a major threat. So we've already seen this year that there have been a number of mammalian species close to humans that now have bird flu outbreaks. We have outbreaks in poultry in all 50 states. 16 states have outbreaks in cattle. In California, in the last 30 days, there have been more than 300 herds that tested positive. And now we have 66 cases of bird flu in humans. And this is almost certainly a significant undercount because we have not been doing nearly enough testing. So we really don't know the extent of bird flu that's out there in humans. But this particular case, it's someone who is severely ill. But not only that, researchers have isolated the virus in this individual who is sick in Louisiana. And they found that this particular strain of the virus appears to have acquired mutations that make it more likely to bind to airway receptors. Bird flu has been around for a long time.
About 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. But it hasn't been a major issue in humans because while it spreads among birds, it hasn't really spread among mammals. But now there is this mutation. And there's another concern now, major too, which is that we are in flu season. And it's possible that a single person could have bird flu and seasonal flu at the same time.
Something called reassortment.
That's right.
Where things change because of one illness becoming another illness through reassortment of a mutated virus.
That's right. And so the viruses could exchange genes. You could develop a new hybrid virus. And if you now have a virus that's more contagious and causes more severe disease, that's when it becomes a major threat to humankind.
Yeah, that's some scary stuff. So we'll definitely be talking more about the bird flu. And if you all have questions, put them here. I do my live Q&As, as far as doing the entire session of a live Q&A, is reserved for my members only. If you're not a member, you can certainly click the link in the description. Those of you here in the chat and those of you who are part of the replay crew. For the members, I give them members only videos that only members will see. I do those throughout the month. And then we have a monthly live Q&A for members only. They also get custom emojis, shout outs, things of that nature. So there's more kind of one-on-one with me or one-on-a-few with me if you become a member. But if we have time, we'll get to some of your questions that you might have now. So yes, the bird flu is here and it's spreading. We've had human infections, still no human to human documented as of yet, but we know that mutations can occur. And so by no means are we completely safe. All right, let's see what answers we have, Shador, for our first myth versus fact.
All right. We have Paula. Excuse me, Paula says a myth.
Okay, so the myth versus fact statement was that if you eat thoroughly cooked chicken and eggs, then you can still get the bird flu. She says that's a myth. She says if you cook it, then it's fine. Okay, thank you, Paula. How you doing?
Lisa, hello.
What's Lisa saying?
It's a fact.
Ah, she's saying even if you cook it, you can still get the bird flu. Okay.
Randy is agreeing, says a fact as well.
He's a fact. He don't care if it's got bird flu in it. He's scared. He's not gonna eat it even if you cook it all the way through. Hi, Mr. Randy. Okay.
Kim, our members only. Hello.
Hey, to my member Kim. How are you?
She says a myth.
A myth. Okay, so she thinks if you cook it thoroughly, then you're not going to get the bird flu from the chicken and the eggs. All right.
All right. And she says a myth as well, Dr. Frita.
A myth. She thinks if you cook thoroughly the chicken and eggs, then you're not going to get the bird flu. All right. So for this statement, if you do cook chicken and eggs thoroughly, you can still get the bird flu. It's a myth. It's a myth. If you do cook the chicken and eggs thoroughly up to a specific temperature, then it will kill the bird flu. And we know that on this channel, we talk about different viruses, different bacteria, some that will live even in the cold and sometimes freezing temperatures, some that can live even in very hot temperatures. But for the bird flu specifically, it is susceptible to high heat. So if you cook your chicken and your eggs thoroughly, If you cook them thoroughly, then you will not get the bird flu. Now, if you're someone who's a bodybuilder and you like to slurp down raw eggs, that's a whole different story. But when it comes to the cooked chicken and eggs, you won't get it if you cook them thoroughly. All right. And what's our next question? That next statement from myth versus fact, Shador?
Yes, ma'am. Cooking poultry to at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit eliminates the bird flu virus.
All right. Do we have any myths on this one?
Yes, we do. We have Anton.
Hi, Anton. Okay.
Logan. Hello, Logan. Says
Hi,
a myth.
Logan.
And our member, Miss Rosalind.
Miss Rosalind. Hi, member. Okay. Did anyone think it's a fact if you cook it to this temperature that you can eliminate the bird flu?
Yes, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
And also Mojo.
Mojo, get your mojo. All right. Well, for this, who else?
Cynthia.
Hi, Cynthia. And Cynthia was our first one in the chat today.
Yes, Cynthia.
All right. All right, Cynthia. So yes, it actually is a fact. So if you cook your food to 165 degrees, that is the temperature where you can kill the bird flu. So you don't have to be as worried as far as eating your chicken, eating your poultry, eating your eggs, as long as you cook. And it's best to check with an internal thermometer for cooking to make sure you get to at least that temperature. All right. Good deal. Oh, this bird flu. Well, in keeping with chicken and eggs, let's talk about the prices, because we've had extremely high prices when it comes to eggs in the grocery stores, as if we weren't already living with inflation. Put a 1 in the chat if you've noticed or you felt the price of eggs going up. Put a 1 in the chat if it's something where you've been like, doggone, these eggs are expensive. Or maybe you have it like that and it really hasn't affected you. Put a 1 in the chat if you really felt the egg prices. Meanwhile, let's go ahead and play this next clip, Shador.
Now, with the cost of eggs skyrocketing, if you can even find them at your local supermarket. Elizabeth Schulze in Washington with the details. Good morning again, Elizabeth.
Hey, good morning again, Michael. This is a problem so many of us are feeling at the grocery store. They're either out of eggs, there's a limit on the number of cartons you can buy, or prices are unusually high. And the main culprit here is the bird flu, which has now affected more than 130 million poultry birds across all 50 states.
This morning, shoppers are scrambling to find store shelves stocked with eggs.
This is where the eggs normally are in Costco. The only thing that was there was a cart with a couple of boxes of mostly broken eggs.
Rising cases of the bird flu are forcing egg suppliers to cut production, causing shortages nationwide and skyrocketing prices.
They did not have any eggs to sell.
Brooke Jones says she visited grocery stores in the Dallas area in search of eggs.
We decided to go out and actually check some different egg sections at stores. And so that's how we came across empty egg shelves, high prices, signs.
Government data shows egg prices are up nearly 38% in the past year. Prices spiking 8% just in November ahead of the high demand holiday baking season. On average, a dozen eggs will cost you $3.65 now compared to $2.14 1 year ago, with prices cheapest in the South averaging $3.40 and most expensive on the West Coast at $4.20. For retailers buying eggs wholesale in California, a carton is nearly $9. This pastry shop in San Francisco feeling the squeeze.
Yep. Did we have any ones in the chat? Anyone who's feeling the price of eggs?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Almost everyone, I would think. Let's see. We have Roni. Hi, Roni.
Hi, Roni.
Miss Clara.
Hi, Miss Clara. There might be some independently wealthy people who don't shop and aren't worried about it.
It possibly be. Yeah. Miss Paula.
Or people who don't eat eggs.
That's true as well.
All right. But everyone seems to be feeling. Who is this?
Miss Paula.
Hi, Miss Paula. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much everyone's feeling
Miss Carolyn said $10.
No, you must be in California. They said there's some places like wholesale, or if you get a carton of eggs, is $9. $10. And now, see, I might just have to be egg free. And we know that eggs can be very healthy healthy in a lot of ways. You know, it's an excellent source of protein, especially if you're going to eat egg whites. And we know that protein is important for us maintaining good health, for us having good muscles, for the way that we heal, for our immunity. So we know that protein can also, when we have high protein diets high in fruits and vegetables, that's good. So eggs are really just like a great source. But you know, hopefully this egg price will go down pretty soon. And it's all about the bird flu. And keeping with the bird flu, I don't want anyone to panic, but I do want people to continue to follow us, to follow the news about the bird flu, because even though there's no human to human transmission, it's not completely out of the question, because here's what happens. So when we talk about just our typical flu, like the seasonal influenza, we're talking about H1N1, okay? Like, or, you know, different flus have an H and an N as far as what's on the surface of the virus and how we categorize them. So for those of us who are getting our seasonal vaccines, and it is recommended by the CDC that everyone 6 months of age and older get a seasonal flu vaccine, it protects you from that yearly mutating seasonal flu. The bird flu is different. The bird flu that we're talking about here is H5N1. And that's something that was first discovered back in 1996 in wild geese in China. And for humans who did get that virus, we know that there was a 50% mortality, meaning that half of the humans, really over half of the humans who did get the bird flu passed away. Okay, so that's pretty serious. They tended to get it from birds. So a lot of wild birds will have bird flu and they don't have any symptoms. They're just fine. But through their saliva, through their droppings, they're able to spread it. And for humans who are working with birds, working with poultry, if they, you know, touch something that's been contaminated, touch their eyes, they might get that conjunctivitis or redness in their eyes. They might get a fever. And now we're actually having some cases where we know that humans are getting some respiratory symptoms. So we know that the virus is mutating. One of the possibilities, and one of the reasons why we really are encouraging people to get their flu vaccines, is that you can get co-infected, meaning you might get the seasonal flu, the one that does spread from human to human, and you might also get the bird flu. And if you do, then what can happen is there can be a mutation or some type of an exchanging of DNA material where now the bird flu would be able to go from human to human. We might get into the situation from 1996 where we're dealing with humans with the 50% mortality. So make sure you consult with your doctors, okay? Consult with your doctors on their recommendations for vaccines. I've given you the CDC recommendation. Full disclosure, I've had my flu vaccine. All of my kids have had their flu vaccine. So Lord forbid, I know I don't want the bird flu, but if I were to get it, then the chances of me creating a mutation within my body where the bird flu could spread from human to human would be less likely. All right. Put a 2 in the chat if you care to share if you've had your flu vaccine for the season. Put a 2 if you've had your flu vaccine.
Dr. Frita, I have a question from Yakima.
Hi, Yakima.
She asked, can you get sick from eating eggs because of the bird flu?
If you eat undercooked eggs, you could potentially get bird flu from a contaminated egg. But if you thoroughly cook your eggs to at least 165 degrees, then it would kill the bird flu and you wouldn't get it. So just make sure you're not doing sunny side ups. Make sure you're eating thoroughly cooked eggs.
All right, thank you. Anton has shared received his flu shot this season.
All right, me too. Very good.
As well as Roni.
Hi, Roni. Look, you're not playing around. You're like, I'm trying to get all the protection I can. Yeah.
Miss Clara. Oh, excuse me.
All right.
Miss Clara.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. And, you know, and there's one of the things, and I hear it from patients all the time. I hear it from subscribers, followers. They say, I'm not getting that flu shot. That thing gives me the flu. You cannot get the flu from the flu shot, from the flu injection, because it is an inactivated virus. It's a dead virus. Okay. So it cannot give you the flu. Now you may get sick. I'm not discounting you for that because it is a foreign substance in your body. And so your immune system may react just to the fact that you're getting an injection. So you might feel feverish. You might have body aches, but it is not the flu. It is not the flu. Trust me, if you actually get the flu, it is much, much worse than the little illness that you might feel right after the flu shot. You cannot get the flu from the flu injection. All right. So that's that on the bird flu. We'll continue to keep you updated here. Please make sure you go ahead and give us a like and give us a share. And for those of you who are new to our YouTube live and new to meeting me, I'm Dr. Frita. I'm an MD. I'm a medical doctor. I've been board certified in multiple specialties. I've been board certified in nephrology. So I'm a board certified kidney doctor and high blood pressure doctor. I've also been board certified in internal medicine, pediatrics, and obesity medicine. And so I talk a lot about a lot. And I share my information not only here on this YouTube channel, where I'm very excited and grateful that we have over 820,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of you who subscribe, who follow me, who share the information to other people. I really appreciate you. I also share the information on multiple media platforms. And so if you click the link right here on this YouTube channel, if you go to playlist and you go to television appearances, you'll see where I appear on national news shows. I've been on Paternity Court, the Emmy Award-winning Paternity Court. I love being a medical expert there. I've been on Sister Circle, HLN News, on News Nation. Yes. In fact, most recently, I was on News Nation talking about the bird flu. So you can go and look on the television appearances and you can see what I said about that. And then 11 Alive News on our local Fox 5. I was most recently on Good Day Atlanta. I'll be on there again this weekend, actually. So follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, follow me here. And I always will give you the update on when I'm going to be sharing news. So that's a little bit about who I am. And so what I like to do here is to share evidence-based medicine. And here we talk about medicine in the news, all of the hot health topics in the headlines. So Shador, let's talk about another one of these headlines. So we know that we followed Jamie Foxx throughout, from when he first became ill with the mystery illness back in 2023 to him sharing most recently how it was a brain bleed and a stroke. And because he just looked so good, you know, we saw him in this special. What had happened was he's dancing, he's singing, he's still doing impressions. I feel like it can be lost on some people just how sick he really was. And the fact that this stroke that he had, really less than 5% of people survive, certainly, you know, without obvious neurological symptoms, you know, the way he has. And so I do want to spend some time talking about strokes. And so before we play this clip, I do want to ask my med heads, please put in the chat some of the warning signs and symptoms of a stroke. And so we'll play this clip and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the warning signs of a stroke.
For the first time, Jamie Foxx is speaking out about the mysterious health emergency that left him fighting for his life. In a new Netflix special, the Oscar-winning actor reveals he suffered a brain bleed that led to a stroke in April of last year. Foxx says he doesn't even remember 20 days of his life, and it all began with just a bad headache.
It is a mystery. We still don't know exactly what happened to me. Wow. Man, please, Lord, let me get through this. April 11th, I was having a bad headache. And I asked my boy for an aspirin. And I realized quickly that when you're in a medical emergency, your boys don't know what to do. Before I could get the aspirin, I went out. I don't remember 20 days. He told my sister some horrible news about her big brother. He said he's having a brain bleed that's led to a stroke. He may be able to make a full recovery, but it's going to be the worst year of his life. That's why this moment is the most incredible moment, because you do take it for granted. To the world, I can't thank you enough. Even when I see people on the street and they roll their window down and yell out, man, we glad you're here. As I look out and I see my family and I see my friends, I can't tell you how good it feels.
CNN entertainment reporter Lisa France joins us now. Lisa, what more did we learn from this Netflix special? It's really emotional.
It is, Pam, and leave it to Jamie Foxx to make us both laugh and cry about what could have been a devastating tragedy. It was devastating for him in terms of what happened to him medically, but this special is almost like a love letter to not just his survival, but also to the friends and family who rallied around him. So as you heard, he talked about being unconscious for 20 days. He talked about how it all just started with a bad headache. And then he had to go through the whole rehabilitation process. And that's when people like his daughter really rallied around him to make sure that he was protected during that time. So what we now know is that when he was in Atlanta filming, ironically enough,
okay, that's good. Yeah. So did anyone in our chat make a comment on some of the warning signs and symptoms? And if you have any stories to share of any loved ones or any experience you have with strokes, then please feel free to share it in the chat.
Yes, ma'am. So Izetta shared.
Hi, Izetta.
She said slurred speech, loss of balance, and several headache or severe headache.
Absolutely. And so we use the mnemonic be fast when it comes to talking about a stroke. So the B for balance, if there's a loss of balance. Okay, the E for eye, like if you have blurry vision or changes in the eye. An F for facial drooping. Okay. An A, you can have arm weakness, arm or leg weakness as well. And then the S, slurred speech. So if you have these things, any of the B, E, F, A, and S, then T, it's time to call 911. And a lot of people will kind of look over different symptoms and say, oh, maybe I slept wrong, or maybe I'm tired, or maybe I'm dehydrated. Please don't come up with all these excuses. Let the doctor tell you whether or not you're having a stroke. But if you're having any of these symptoms, then it's important that you call 911 or get to the emergency department very quickly, because time is it. If you, for every minute, you're closer to having either, having a chance of being unalived by the stroke or by having neurological deficits. So yeah, we have all those things. And there are two categories of strokes. Okay. There's a brain bleed or the hemorrhagic stroke. And that's what Jamie Foxx had. And then the more common one is the ischemic stroke. And that's when you don't have enough blood flow getting to the brain. So for the ischemic strokes, that's about 87% of the strokes. And then about 13% are the brain bleeds. And there's all kinds of risk factors. Anyone else give me signs or symptoms?
Yes. Ilona. Hi, Ilona.
Hi, Ilona.
Numbness of your face, on your left, and droopy face.
That's right. You can get numbness. You get numbness on either side or both. And that's right. That facial drooping. That's one. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And Paula chimed in with the same, the facial drooping, vision issues, speech slurring, arm weakness.
That's right. And it's amazing how many people, like I said, like I've had patients who, this one lady came into the office, all her makeup on, her lashes and everything. She walked around, actually went shopping, having symptoms of a stroke. She knew she had slurred speech. She knew she was having weakness. And she was like, oh, I figured, maybe I was having a muscle issue or I slept wrong. Denial is powerful. It has nothing to do with intelligence. Denial is just very powerful. And it can make you leave your good sense when your body's not doing well, and you still will just kind of ignore the symptoms. Yeah. And so if you are able to get to the hospital quickly, to the emergency room quickly, if they think it's an ischemic stroke, meaning there's like a blockage, maybe from a plaque, like an atherosclerotic plaque, then they may give you something that's a clot buster or a TPA, but you have to get there within a certain amount of time for it to be effective. And that can reverse the symptoms of the stroke, and it can prevent you from having long-term complications. If it's a brain bleed, then they'll often have to, depending on how large the bleed is, have to do a procedure where they go in and they remove the blood from the brain. And so Jamie Foxx's brain bleed was related to the stroke, which very often and very likely is related to high blood pressure, when the blood pressure gets so high that it can cause blood vessels to burst. Another important brain bleed to be aware of, and this is not a stroke, is a subdural hematoma from falls. And we talked about this a little bit last week when we were talking about the late President Jimmy Carter. If you have frequent falls and you hit your head, that can put you at risk for a stroke, especially if you are an older person. Because as we get older, our brains shrink. They just do. A lot of stuff happens as we get older, but our brains shrink. And we have these veins that connect our brain to the skull. And so as your brain shrinks, those veins will stretch, making them more vulnerable to break if you have a fall. And that can lead to a subdural hematoma. So if you have a loved one who's had multiple falls, and they've hit their head and they're like, oh, I feel fine. They might, because sometimes it can take days, weeks, even months for the subdural hematoma to show symptoms. So just be aware of that, especially if the person having those falls is on some type of a blood thinner, like an aspirin or Eliquis or warfarin. Okay. So, of course, we're keeping all of our well wishes for Jamie Foxx. I'm very excited on his recovery. I'm really excited that he did choose to share what he's going through. Of course, you know, his privacy is his right, and he had a nice army around him to keep his privacy. But at least with him talking about it, it makes people aware that even if you're young, muscular, got everything going for you, you're wealthy, you're rich, you're popular, all those things, you're still a human, and stroke still can happen to you. And so I think it gives everyone a second look to realize, okay, it could happen to me, and that'll help us to be a little healthier and a little happier. All right. If you have any questions about strokes and high blood pressure, especially, then we'll see if we can get to those at the end. And as far as high blood pressure, again, for those of you who are new to the channel, I am a board certified kidney and high blood pressure specialist. I have many videos right here on this channel, but I also have a book, Under Pressure, A Guide to Controlling High Blood Pressure. In that book, I talk about not just the medicines that treat blood pressure, because I did train at Meharry Medical College and HBCU, also trained at Georgetown, at Emory. And so I definitely have the Western medicine, and I prescribe medicine. I also cover more natural measures of controlling blood pressure, holistic things like lifestyle, slow, deep breathing, using food as medicine. I cover all of that in this book. And so it's really a great integrative approach on managing high blood pressure. So you can click the link in the description, or you can go to Amazon. It's available on Amazon, or the one-stop shop is my website, dr.frita.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Frita, while you're on blood pressure, we do have a super chat from Mojo.
Oh, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support.
My blood pressure is a bit high. Do you practice in South Atlanta?
I am in Midtown Atlanta. I absolutely am. And if you go to my website, dr.frita.com, you'll see all the information. I am accepting new patients right here. And we can definitely go through and we can talk about, I'll do a history, I'll do a physical, and we'll talk about the best approach to managing your high blood pressure. We know that high blood pressure is a leading cause of heart disease, strokes, and it's actually the #2 cause of kidney failure. And a lot of people don't have symptoms, right? And so you can kind of be living with it and like, must not be that bad. I don't have a headache. I don't have heart disease. If the blood pressure is high, it is affecting you, whether you have symptoms or not. So yeah, please make sure you connect with us, and I would love to see you. Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita.
All right. Oh, do y'all remember tWitch, who was on Ellen DeGeneres, a dancer, just a real, just lovable, affable kind of a fellow. And, you know, I think it broke a lot of our hearts when he took his own life a couple of years ago, because you just look and you're like, gosh, he looks like he's just on top of the world with no problems. He had a wife, 3 kids, and just, seemed like he had everything going on, like a really, really happy guy. And so we know that he took his own life. And now his wife, Allison Hoker, has been coming to the front and talking about it. And there's a lot of controversy going on because she's sharing some information that she found in his journals that she didn't even know, that he didn't share with her. And she's also talking about some drug use, according to her, that he had, that she was not aware of him having. And a lot of his family members and friends are getting upset because they feel like she's exploiting him in his death. In other words, if he didn't tell you about things, including apparently per her, she found something in his journal that he was touched inappropriately, abused as a child. That's something she didn't know. He didn't reveal to her, but now she's revealed it to the world. And there's been a lot of controversy. And so we will talk about the portion of this that we can use as far as, the medical health education about it, as far as addiction, as far as depression. And I'm not saying that he is a drug addict. I'm not saying, I'm only sharing what she's sharing. But I do want to ask you, med heads, are you on the side with his friends and his family, as in his blood family? Most of them are saying that she's exploiting him. She has no right to share things that he didn't even share with her. Or are you on the side of, hey, she's the one who's dealing with him losing his life. She's his wife. It's her story to tell, even though he didn't tell it. Put a 2 if you think that she's dead wrong. She shouldn't be sharing his information. And put a 3 if you're like, hey, that's his wife. He chose her. It's her business. Let's stay out of it. So put a 2 if you disagree with her. Put a 3 if you do agree with what she's doing. Let's play this clip, Shador.
I dealt with an ex that had addiction problems, and then I realized Steven had addiction problems, and it's something that I kind of have been like, where was I involved in this? And I had to take some steps for myself to realize, like, you know, I was able to help one, and I wish I could have been that for the other. But it's also not my job to do that. There was a moment I was with one of my really dear friends, and we were cleaning out the closet and picking out an outfit for him for the funeral. And it was a really triggering moment for me because there was a lot of things I discovered in our closet that I did not know existed. And it was very alarming to me to learn that there was so much happening that I had no clue. So it was a really scary moment in my life to figure that out. But it also helped me process that he was going through so much and he was hiding so much, and there must have been a lot of shame in that. And he was wrestling with a lot inside himself, and he was trying to self-medicate and cope with all those feelings because he didn't want to put it on anyone, because he loved everyone so much. He didn't want other people to take on his pain.
Okay. All right. So there you see Allison Hoker, who's sharing what she found and addiction that, she says that he was dealing with. Do we have anyone who feels like, 2, she should not be sharing his information? He didn't even share it with her. And do we have any 3s where they say it's her husband, it's her story to tell, and so she can share it if she wants? Any 2s or 3s? Okay.
So mostly 2s.
Veronica says she's dead wrong. She's exploiting him. Okay, Veronica.
As well as Alice.
Hi, Alice. So you think she's doing too much? If he didn't tell her, then clearly he didn't want to tell the world. Okay.
Steven also agrees, doing too much.
Doing too much. Okay. Hi, Steven.
Sherry. Hi, Sherry. She says 1,000 times 2.
Oh, she done put 2,000, y'all. She put 2 to the nth degree. All right, I hear you.
And Clara actually put a 3.
Clara, very interesting. If you don't mind doing a comeback, Clara, tell me why you put a 3. But you think that because I know some people say, okay, that's his wife. He chose her. And so she's the one who's having to pick up the pieces that now that he's gone, she's the one who's having to cope. And perhaps, Clara, you feel that she can be doing someone else a service who has a husband or a spouse going through the same thing, maybe teaching them clues to look out for her. Like maybe it's unselfish. Okay, so we have a 3. Okay, I like to have a difference of opinions. Now we'll share something else with you that has been coming out and that has the family, his blood family, very upset. They had to sign an NDA, okay, a non-disclosure agreement, before they were even able to see the body. And I know that a lot of people do that, especially in Hollywood with celebrities, because they don't want people taking pictures of the bodies or sharing intimate details of the funeral. But Allison Hoker, Twitch's wife, had his mother to sign an NDA as well as his family. And so that's kind of adding a little bit of fuel to the fire, why some of people are not really happy with her for that. Put a 4 if you think that she was wrong for having his mother to sign an NDA before allowing the mother to see the body. Yeah. And this is not so much alleged because there's been information released where she said that she had the mother and everyone signed an NDA, and she said that she would do it again and again if it were necessary. She feels it was the right decision. So yeah, put a 4 if you think that she was wrong for having the mother to sign the NDA. And then I'll come back to that. We'll go ahead and we'll at least get some of the talk, the learning points out. And so let's talk about mental illness. To my knowledge, she was not diagnosed with any type of a mental illness, but we know that for someone to take their own life, then very oftentimes they're dealing with major depressive disorder. I don't know what his diagnosis was, or some major anxiety, things of that nature. But for major depressive disorder, there are certain things that you want to look out for. Of course, someone just being sad, that's more of the obvious one, or having the inability to feel pleasure. But also, if you're dealing with someone who stops doing activities that they used to love. Okay. So like my kids, for example, love basketball. They get on my nerves. They want to go to the gym every 2 seconds. They want me to take them to their trainer and take all my money every 2 seconds. If ever they just all of a sudden were like, we don't like basketball, or one of them were to say that would raise a red flag for me. My kids love playing video games if all of a sudden they just stopped and didn't want to play video games. So if you have someone who loves going fishing, going bowling, and they just stop that activity, that's a red flag that they might be having a symptom of major depressive disorder. Also, a change in appetite. If they start overeating or if they stop eating much, either way, if there's a major change, that could be a symptom of depression. Sleep. Someone who normally is, pretty normal with their sleep, now they're sleeping too much, or they get insomnia, they're not sleeping at all. So these are some of the things. And then the warning signs before if someone is thinking about taking their own life, they may start making phone calls or reaching out to people from their past, saying all of these, giving you your flowers while you're living, just a random call saying, hey, I just want you to know you always meant a lot to me. If they're doing that a lot and they're going and making these great statements to people and reaching back, that can sometimes be a warning that they might be about to take their own life. Another warning could be if they start giving away items that are very valuable to them. I don't mean a generous person just giving this trinket away or that trinket, but someone who's been collecting baseball cards their entire life, they have a very expensive baseball card collection, they give that away. Someone who drives a Mustang, love that Mustang, they dolled it up, they go give that away. If they start giving away major possessions, it might be right before they're thinking about taking their own life. And so that's the depression piece. Did anyone put a 4 that they thought that his wife, Alton Hooker, was wrong for having his mother sign an NDA before they let her see the body?
Miss Rosalind.
Hi, Miss Rosalind. I remember?
Yes, I remember.
Yay. All right. So you think she did it wrong?
Simona said wrong.
Okay. Yeah.
And PM.
Yeah. I'll weigh in on this one. I think she was wrong for having the mother sign it. Again, I understand in general the concept, with the celebrity and an NDA, because we have seen pictures of people's bodies get leaked out, things of that nature. But to tell a mother, you cannot see your son, the child you gave birth to, who took his own life, you cannot see him until you sign the NDA. I feel like she crossed the line. And I thought that maybe she was just being general. And so when she was asked about it, I thought that maybe she would deny or say, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But she's standing 10 toes down that she feels like she was right in doing that. So yeah, this is in the headlines. So the other thing I want to talk about is addiction. And I'll just touch on it briefly, because if you go to my YouTube channel right here, then I go into addiction in one of my videos. If you go to my playlist and you look at Wendy Williams, I talk about what's happening with Wendy Williams. That was back when we had her documentary. I did a mini series, and one of the parts is addiction, where I talk about the things that will make someone likely to become addicted. I talk about dopamine release, serotonin release, reward pathway. So to find out more about addiction, go there. So if indeed he was struggling with addiction, I'm really sorry to hear that. And whether you agree with her or not, it looks like the story is out there and she's sharing it. So for anyone who's listening, if you're struggling with addiction, if you have a loved one struggling with addiction, please encourage them to get help, to consult their physician, or to reach out to one of these hotlines that will help with addiction. But rest in peace to tWitch. And, I just always hate it when someone takes their own life, because you just think, what can make you feel that low? Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a lot of respiratory illnesses that are in the air. We talked about the flu, and of course we have RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, that's out there. COVID is still here. We don't talk about it very much, but it's still taking people's lives. And those are the respiratory viruses. And we also have the norovirus. Now that's a gastrointestinal one that we have covered. In fact, we talked about norovirus last week. So if you go back to the YouTube live from last week, you hear me talk about norovirus. But also, if you go to my Facebook or my Instagram at dr.frita, I did a short because Lil Scrappy got the norovirus. He said him and at least 2 of his kids. And he talked about the symptoms, OMG, the diarrhea, the vomiting, the weakness. And on Facebook, I've gotten over 1 million views on the little short form video. So if you want more information on norovirus, then I give a nice short form content on that. But that's not one of the respiratory ones. That is one that can give you the stomach bug. So basically, in some places, now that we're in flu season, RSV season, COVID season, there are mask mandates. And I want you to put a 5 if you think that there are some situations where there should be mask mandates. Put a 6 if you think there should never be mask mandates. A 5 if you think there should be sometimes mask mandates to help people stay alive. A 6 if you think it's a violation of your rights and there should never be mask mandates. Let's play that clip on mask mandates, please.
Mandates are coming back in many parts of the U.S. due to concerns over a so-called quademic. Experts say a combination of flu, COVID, RSV, and neurovirus after the holidays is causing a sharp increase in hospitalizations in cities such as Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago. While more people getting sick after the holidays isn't new, it's happening as less people get vaccinated overall. And that's due to what some call a COVID hangover. Limited exposure and hygiene are key to preventing illness. And while more hospital mandates are returning, masking in public places largely remains a personal choice.
All right. Do we have any 5s if people think that sometimes masks should be mandated, depending? And a 6 if you think never, 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 my body, my choice, it's a violation of my rights.
Yes.
5?
Yes.
What we have? Who we have?
Stephen with a 5. Hello,
5.
Stephen.
Okay. There are some cases where you think the masks should be mandated. Okay.
Joe as well agrees in some cases there should be.
Okay.
5. And Carol also placed a 5.
All right. Does anyone say 6? Like, absolutely not. You can't tell me what to do as far as masks. Who said 6?
Diane. Hello, Diane.
Diane. Okay. You think personal choice? You can't make me. Okay.
As well as Mojo. Personal choice.
Personal choice. Okay.
Yep. Those are the ones who chime in with a 6 for now.
All right. Very interesting. Very interesting. And I'll go ahead and weigh in on this one. I'm a 5. I think that there are certain cases where there should be mask mandates, and that's simply based on the data, and it depends on what you're doing and where you are. So, of course, I'm going to be biased because I'm in healthcare. I'm in the hospital. I'm in dialysis units. And we know that masks, specifically the N95s, KN95s, really can slow the spread of COVID virus, RSV, of flu even. And when you're dealing with people who are chronically ill, like my dialysis patients, for example, a lot of my nurses are young and healthy. So they might go home, they might get, COVID or RSV from their kids, come in and cough in my patients' faces. My patients can get the same virus that the nurse has. The patient lose the life, the nurse can be alive. And so in the work environment specifically, I do believe in having mask mandates when you have high levels of a certain virus in the area. We know that that saves lives. And so not so much to protect the healthy people, but to protect the vulnerable people, the elderly, the very young, the people with diabetes, chronic heart disease, lung disease, my dialysis patients. And for example, I work for, I'm a medical director at a nonprofit dialysis unit. So it's flu season, and we know that the CDC recommends flu shots for people ages 6 months and above. But of course, your body, your choice. You don't have to get a flu vaccine. I got my flu vaccine. The way we operate at my dialysis unit is that if you choose not to get a flu vaccine, that is your choice, but we mandate that you wear a mask during flu season so that you don't pass the flu to our vulnerable patients. So in that situation, I feel that in certain cases, especially in certain fields like healthcare fields, that, since we know that masks save lives, I don't think that's an issue. So, okay, that's interesting. So now we see that some mask mandates are coming around. We'll see how that goes this come around. All right. And so we opened up talking about the snow day, and a lot of people had a lot of fun, even though I tried to be a Debbie Downer with the heart attacks in the snow. But some people who are not having fun at all are some of the people in California. We know that these wildfires have not only taken people's property, but have taken some lives. And so let's roll this clip on wildfires, and then we'll talk about some of the health risk of wildfires, and then we'll get a couple of questions in if we have time. If you want to ask more questions, then make sure you join the membership when we do our monthly live Q&A.
This morning, the firestorm officials had feared becoming a reality, with a third out-of-control wildfire exploding overnight in the Los Angeles area.
At the end of the day, I mean, who's ready for something like this?
Overnight, flames reaching the iconic Malibu neighborhood and its beachfront homes. In the coastal neighborhood Pacific Palisades, multiple homes completely engulfed in flames, with desperate residents rushing to get out. Planes flying above the area, capturing the massive reach of the inferno. The fire jumping Pacific Coast Highway, burning all the way to the ocean, even threatening the famed Getty Villa Art Museum. And 2 more fires igniting overnight, spreading to Pasadena, where this Jewish temple erupted in flames.
It's like a bad, horrific dream.
In Altadena, dramatic video showing elderly patients being evacuated from a senior center. The Palisades fire igniting mid-morning Tuesday, with the area's hilly, winding roads quickly clogging with cars.
The homeowners are saying they're unable to access any exit routes. There's fire on both sides of the roads.
We are in bumper-to-bumper traffic right now as hundreds of people try to get out. You can see flames here on both sides of the road with very little visibility. Many abandoning their vehicles to flee on foot.
Policemen started telling everybody, get out of your car, leave your car if you want to live.
A bulldozer brought in to clear a path, pushing dozens of cars out of the way. Smoke from the growing fire darkening the skies. This man breaking down, desperate to reach his dogs.
I've been trying to get to my house for 5 hours.
Later reunited, his house thankfully saved. Overnight, a high school up in flames. The fire hitting some of California's most famed areas, home to iconic houses and sites and many celebrities. Chris Pratt posting overnight, please send prayers and strength to those affected. James Woods posting this video of the fires approaching his home. Beloved actor Steve Guttenberg among those stepping up to help his neighbors.
When things like this occur, you really realize how vulnerable you are and how important community is.
Scenes of unbelievable devastation and loss as the relentless winds fueling these fires show no signs of letting up.
Now, here in Malibu, the Palisades fire continues to spread. Officials say one firefighter suffered an injury, a serious head injury, battling this fire. There are also multiple burn victims. LA Fire is stretched so thin right now that they put out an all call asking any off-duty firefighters to come and help them fight these fires. And the scary part, guys, we are still in the middle of this windstorm with these strong winds not expected to let up anytime soon.
Okay, that's so sad. Natural disasters, I mean, be it wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, the things that we cannot control are so frightening. And even still, you think that in 2025, we know the risk is there. We know that the wildfires can come. You just think that somehow we can come up with the way, if not to prevent, but to really just slow down the process of wildfires. It makes you feel so helpless, so definitely my prayers go up to everyone who is suffering in the wildfires. I do just want to take a moment to talk about the wildfires, and then we'll take just a few questions if we have them. We'll prioritize questions from super chats and from members, and then we'll close out. But as far as wildfires, number one, make sure that you listen to the officials where you are. If they say evacuate and go. Okay. As far as protecting yourself to the best of your ability in a wildfire, we do know that wearing masks like N95s can help to keep you from inhaling some of the dangerous particles from smoke. So as far as wildfires, they're mixed with smoke and particles from whatever it is they're burning. And so wildfire smoke can be even more dangerous than the common air pollutants that we deal with. And the people who are at risk are, of course, people who have chronic lung diseases, like people with asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, COPD. Also, the very elderly, the very young, even pregnant women can be at higher risk of having preterm labor if they're dealing with smoke inhalation. And, and people with chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, things of that nature can be at a high risk. There are certain air filters that can be purchased, portable air filters. And so if you're in a place where there's wildfire, even if your home is not on fire, you don't have to evacuate, you want to consider getting a portable or an in-home air filter. And that can help to cut back on some of the risks of the smoke as well. So, we'll keep reporting on that. And so we'll move into some questions and answers. For the one story we didn't get to this time, where I talk about walking your way to a lower blood pressure, check out my video right here on the Dr. Frita YouTube channel, and go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe and hit the notification bell. But I have a video on the 10 best exercises to lower your blood pressure naturally. I include walking, but I talk about other exercises like hiking, slow, deep breathing, yoga, Tai Chi. And I even hit on what's considered to be the best exercise for lowering blood pressure naturally. You got to watch the video to find out. All right. So as we wrap things up, Shador, do we have any questions. We'll prioritize members and super chats, and then anyone else. We'll just do a couple of questions here. Please make sure that if you want more information and more interaction with me, you join our membership community. I just released a video that we'll probably be posting today, if not tomorrow, because I go on there, y'all just tell y'all all my thoughts, and I share those videos to members only. And then we have a members only live Q&A where, just like I sat here and spent this whole session giving you the hot headlines in the news, I spend the whole session for my members live Q&A where we interact, we go back and forth. We can drop a link and have you come up on video and ask your question. And as I mentioned, for those of you who are new, I've been board certified in nephrology, internal medicine, pediatrics, obesity medicine. And so I have a lot of information that I love to share. But if you want more access to the Q&A, then please join the membership. Join the membership community. And if you even want more access to me, then make sure that you take advantage of the telehealth service that I provide. This is where we're one-on-one, and I can give you this consult from anywhere in the world, okay? And I take a full detailed history, and I can give you medical information based on what you share with me. I can give you a second opinion, a first opinion, and I can talk about, across specialties. So make sure you take advantage of that. I'm really enjoying this. And we've gotten consults from all over the world. So it's nice to be able to reach people I normally would not have been able to reach. All right, Shador, do we have any questions as we close out?
Yes, I do have one question, Dr. Frita.
Okay.
This question comes from Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Are there any similarities with migraine and stroke headaches?
Oh, certainly. Certainly. And some people who have migraines actually think that they're having a stroke. So for the migraine headaches, they tend to be extreme, like people may describe them as 10 out of 10, the worst headache in their life. They tend to be unilateral. They can have a prodrome, the migraine headaches, meaning you might have like an aura where you see flashing lights, or maybe you even feel nauseated. People who have had migraines for years can often, based on that aura or the prodrome, that pre-symptom that they get, they can know when their migraine is coming. For migraines, people often want to be in the dark. They want quiet. They don't want to be disturbed. And migraines can be quite debilitating, okay? Now, with the stroke, especially if you're having a brain bleed and a headache, the way Jamie Foxx described, that too can present as the worst headache of your life, right? But with the stroke, with that bleed that's going on, then you're likely to have more neurological symptoms. Now, there are people who actually get neurological symptoms with migraines, and that's what makes things confusing. And so I think the bottom line to take away from this is, if you have a migraine and you're having some neurological symptoms, facial weakness, it really could be your migraine, but please err on the side of calling 911, going to the ER, because certainly they can distinguish between the two, because a brain bleed will show up on the CAT scan, okay, if you're having a stroke from a brain bleed, and the migraine will present differently. But yes, there can be an overlap in symptoms, and so please allow a doctor to determine which one you're actually having. If you go right here on my YouTube channel here, Dr. Frita, where we have more than 820,000 subscribers, join us, please, subscribe. We're marching steadily to 100, but I do have a video on headaches where I get into cluster headaches, tension headaches, migraine headaches. I go over all the different types of major headaches, and I really help to break that down for you right here on this YouTube channel.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Frita. We just have a quick shout out from Logan. He
Hi,
says,
Logan.
Your videos and shorts, very good info.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying them, Logan. Logan, please be sure you share them with people, because I really want to just spread information, give people bite sizes of information that they can understand, and they can use them to have their healthier, happier lives. Thank you, Logan.
All right. And thank you, Dr. Frita.
All right. Well, we will see y'all next Monday, same bad time, same bad place, here on Medical Monday. We talk about all of the hot health headlines in the news. We give you a take here that you just can't get anywhere else. So I appreciate you. Make sure you go ahead and like this video on your way out the door. I appreciate your support, and we'll see you next Monday.